Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to episode number 4 of From the Epicenter. Today's going to be a really exciting, talk with one of the most influential news publications in Asia. And I'm going to be bringing on the COO, Maria Lee, from Tech in Asia in just a minute. Just 2 quick notes before we kick this off. Why do we call this From the Epicenter? Well, firstly, as the global leader in attribution, we're positioned at the core of marketing technology, where advertisers and partners connect in this ecosystem. And being impartial and unbiased, we really have this ability to bring together valuable insight from across the ecosystem. And secondly, the epicenter. When we think about Asia, and myself, having been in Asia for now 3 generations, it's really the center of what we think is the world's growth and innovation here in APAC. So without further ado, I do want to bring on Maria Lee. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Ronen. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
How's the Singapore lockdown treating you?
It is ending in 3 hours. So
3 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh, you got your running shoes on? You ready to run outside?
Not tonight, but first thing tomorrow morning. Yes.
Okay.
I had
to
dedicate tonight to you,
Oh, why? Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I feel very very honored. So this is going to be quite a lot of fun because I'm going to give everyone just a really quick background. You're from Texas. You worked for Apple in San Francisco. You moved to Singapore with Apple, and you left a high-paying job in the most valuable company in the world today, like $1.5 trillion, right? To join a tech media publication. Maria, what were you thinking? Walk us through this.
What were you thinking? You sound like my parents.
I'm not that old.
No, not that. So it was an amazing time at Apple. I think it's an incredible company. You really do work with some of the smartest people in the world, and you feel like, especially the first year that you're there, you feel so awesome, like being part of that amazing machine. But I think for me, I've kind of always crafted my career around trying to make an impact, especially in areas that need it most. So I actually spent the first part of my career working in sub-Saharan Africa on these like grand growth, like economic growth initiatives to do like private sector development. And that's always been really important to me. And so the great thing at Apple was one of the things I was focusing on, especially in my later years there, were establishing new Apple manufacturing plants through Southeast Asia. So it was a part of the company's push to diversify their supply chain. And I felt really good about it because it was about like that tech transfer, that knowledge transfer from Apple, being Apple, to like local manufacturers. And that was cool. But at some point I couldn't like lie to myself that much longer. And the fancy business class flights and the awesome hotels like couldn't make up for the fact that at the end of the day, I was definitely just a cog in the machine. I felt like my overall impact, both within the company as well as on the community, was quite limited. And I was helping the world's most valuable company make more money and save more money, so it wasn't quite there.
But you were on the inside, like seeing all these secret devices being produced, right?
Yeah, and we all had secret like program code names and things like that. And but it just, I had strayed really far away from where I wanted my career to go, and I think what I really wanted to do. And so I took a step back and looked at having landed in Singapore, I was feeling really optimistic about the overall tech and startup community here. Like there was this like energy and passion that felt really genuine and real. And honestly, that Silicon Valley didn't have quite the same. I mean, it has a different kind of buzz, but not like the same like warm-hearted, warm-spirited communities type buzz that Southeast Asia had. And and I just started looking around to try to figure out ways to support the local tech and startup ecosystem here. And luckily, Tech in Asia, I think, is in a very strong position to play that role. So I found TIA because I actually got invited to a conference here in Singapore. And so that was my first big tech conference, sponsored by Tech in Asia, or put on by Tech in Asia, of course. And then, I was trying to get understand like the startup and tech ecosystem here, and started reading TIA news. And that's how I got a lot of the information. And so they posted a role at some point, and I was like, you know what, like I've never done media before. I don't understand it as an industry, but I clearly do use their products. And I thought what they were doing, which is like shining a spotlight on the ecosystem here, and especially doing it in English in a way that like the rest of the world could follow, and like kind of like broadcasting out what we're doing in our corner of the world to the rest of the world. That felt like a really important mission, and one that I kind of wanted to be a part of.
Well, that sounds amazing. I'm a big fan of Tech in Asia, and been an avid reader for years, and yes, a premium subscriber as well. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thanks so much.
So you guys are basically like the predominant voice of tech in Asia. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and we've come through pretty much one of the, well, I would say it's the biggest crisis of our careers, and maybe of our times, right? And you guys have been exposed to some amazing inspirational stories, as well as some stories that are saddening. I mean, take us through what you guys have covered in the past few months, and give us just some perspective about what's been going on in Asia.
Yeah, sure. So starting with the inspiring stories, I mean, there are a lot out there. Like, I think the sectors that are doing well are no secret to everybody at this point. Like, EdTech has done incredibly well. Anything that has to do with like remote working and enabling remote work has done quite well. Like cybersecurity, like a lot of these online tools that now have to enable the way people, their new way of working and living, have done great. And so specific to Asia, like Ruang Guru in Indonesia have, they had actually already closed a massive round, but it put them in like the best position possible to kind of take advantage of the current situation, which, sounds bad, but it's good for their business. And, we've also seen the community kind of come together in a really heartwarming way. I think, the businesses usually kind of fell out. And so you saw like different VCs bonding together to like create like a support startup initiative where like startups can kind of congregate their different offers and put it out for the community. We've seen the founder community in particular really come together, really start sharing lessons. And like in normal times, you don't hear people talking about openly about unit economics or like hard decisions that they have to make within their company. And people are being really honest and transparent right now because everyone's in the same boat, right? So everyone's being like really kind of sharing their stories about like, whether it's pay cuts or layoffs or like how best to do it and how best to manage it. Like they're supporting each other, and that's nice to see. Yeah. And some founders are really thriving. Like founders generally, by and large, like kind of love chaos, and I can't say anybody like loves this current situation, but some of them have found this like to be really invigorating. They've been able to pivot their business model in a way that they wouldn't be able to do in normal times, because at this point it's like all hands on deck and do it or lose it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is what having limited constraints means, right? When you're faced with this type of situation, you really have to look where are we going to focus? Where are we going to apply our resources? Because at any time, decisions can change, and the situation can change very drastically, right? I mean, revenue falls much faster than costs do.
Yes.
Actually, one of the initiatives that we did as a company, just last week, we released a zero budget marketing plan, which actually is dedicated for startups to think much more about, with limited constraints, what will I do as a marketer, right? And they have to think this way, and so it was very interesting, like the timing that it's not that this was planned the whole time, but it's really to give back to the industry and to help them to come out of this crisis stronger. And we've seen like obviously some amazing stories. I think one of the ones that I covered in episode so 2 on here was Happy Fresh, and they've been like, you know, for years been in the grocery space, and like Asians like, what? We're gonna order groceries from our smartphones? You must be kidding. And overnight, you know, just completely like, you know, their growth 3x, had to hire, run 3 shifts, and it's just, you know, there's such inspiring stories that have happened as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. But what are Tech in Asia's plans? I mean, you guys obviously as a tech media, you had big plans to go offline this year. So tell us what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, so it's been I won't lie, like parts of our business are doing great and parts of our business are struggling. And so we, in normal years, run like these awesome, like super buzzy, large, like 5,000 people conferences. And we try to bring in like all the tech community from across the region, as many of them as possible. And obviously that's just not possible. So, you know, for us, we've also made pretty drastic pivots. So on the event side, we're doing a lot of online meetups and webinars as well. And we will actually be hosting our first virtual conference in 3 weeks. It's a product development conference, very product and tech focused. There's a lot that's gone into it. Like we're trying to run all these networking. So any great event is a combination of like awesome content and awesome networking. And content, I think, this is actually almost an easier way to deliver content because it feels a lot more personal and the audience can like connect with the speaker more. So that part I think is quite well figured out. I think online networking, quite a stretch still. So we're trying out all these like different roundtable sessions. We're trying out resume workshops where we're bringing in professional resume consultants and recruiters to kind of run like individual workshops. So we're still trying to crack that. But I do think we're lucky. We do have a pretty awesome and loyal community. And so they've been really forgiving and flexible with us as we've pivoted a lot of our offline content online. But the parts of the business that are, doing well is, so obviously we do run news subscription, and thank you for being a subscriber.
Thank you.
And, you know, like before COVID hit, layoff stories always converted the most number of subscribers because we track how many, you know, people subscribe based on a single article. And so for a while that was like, oh, okay, it's a layoff story, you know, we cover it. I think since COVID has hit and obviously the layoff stories have been stacking up, it's been really important for us as well to kind of take a step back and evaluate our own role in the ecosystem and what we're trying to do with our stories and like what role we're trying to play. And our mission is to build and serve Asia's tech and startup ecosystem. It's not make a killing writing sensationalist news. And so that part is really important because we've had people ask us to just stop writing layoff stories because it's a downer and like
depressing.
Yeah, it is. And all those things are true. But we also went through our own very public layoffs in 2018 and we're the subject of media coverage of, and so we understand where a lot of these companies are coming from. I'm also running like super lean business operations. So I also really understand the financial pressures that these companies are operating under. And so we try to take this with like a lot of empathy definitely for the leadership of the company, but also for the employees, because it does really suck all around. And so, but at the same time, as a community, I think this kind of documentation, learning from failures, whether your own or from your peers, kind of helps like develop the overall community and helps us all move on and like learn valuable lessons, learn what to do, what not to do, and hopefully like just be better prepared. And so like, I think Silicon Valley has done a really good job of taking some of the stigma and shame away from failure. And like, actually, if you're a founder with, I mean, you don't want too many failures, but like a few failures and you learn the right lessons from it, investors actually trust you more and your leadership team trusts you more. And so I think it's a big, massive first test of our community, but hopefully we can get through.
Absolutely. I mean, founders who have failed actually have a higher chance of succeeding, right? So yeah, it's, you know, and there is no shame in failing, right? And you obviously learn much more when things go wrong than when things go right. So, so yeah, and in trying to make things go right, our episode is actually about unlocking growth opportunities in Asia, right? And so, like, what advice do you have to companies that are looking at Asia as a really a greenfield market? What would you tell them, if those who are looking to get in here, where do you start? What do you do? How do you look? Take us through give us some tips and some advice that you can share.
Yeah, for sure. So Asia, I think number one rule is don't treat it as one place, because it's obviously not. And so I think when you look at the big numbers, like definitely break down those numbers that you're looking at, and then are you talking about North Asia? Are you talking about Southeast Asia? Some people throw in ANZ, whatever. So first, like understand the big numbers, understand the fragmentation of the local markets, and depending on what your regional expansion plans are, just know that every single new country that you enter is going to be an entirely different market. And like hiring local, I can't stress the importance enough of that. Because each individual market, like language aside, right? Because each country basically has like at least 2, if not 3 languages that they speak.
Right.
Like, language aside, there are so many customer behavior differences, I think, amongst the different countries, and even if you just like come into Singapore and do an amazing job capturing the Singapore market, Indonesia is going to be a completely different beast, and so is Malaysia, and so is Thailand. And so having a truly localized strategy, I think, is really important. And hiring local is definitely part of that. And and then understanding the consumer behavior. Asia, by and large, Southeast Asia in particular, really young population, super mobile, like that mobile phone is always in their hand. And, like very video driven as well. And so I think understanding like some of these behaviors of the local market and then specifically within countries is just like, it's critical in order to succeed here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my, the thing that I think that Asia has shown us, and a lot of people miss this, that it's a mobile only ecosystem, right? If you look across Asia, I mean, people are getting a device to connect to the internet for the very first time, right? And that's the whole world that they use that's the gateway to the universe there. So it's so that's also very important, and also hiring, right? Hiring remotely it can be challenging. And you had a great line that you said. You remember it?
I did. The rise of the introverts.
Yeah, the rise of the introverts. Exactly. Maria, we just have a few more minutes here, and I was thinking about doing a quick fire round with you. What do you say?
I'm down.
You're down? All right. 3, 2. Favorite food, Maria?
Flaming hot Cheetos, but the American kind, not the ones you find here.
And I'm just gonna guess that you must eat them with chopsticks.
I definitely, you can't get the red fingertips. It like ruins the laptop and everything else.
Yeah, well, we have a big supply in our office here in Bangkok. One of the guys introduced them to the team, and we're forever red fingered. Yeah. Your favorite book?
Exhalation by Ted Chiang. It's a collection of short stories. It's all about like very futuristic tech concepts, but he just does them in like a super smart way, where after every short story you like stop and you think about it for like 20 minutes and then you move on. It's just awesome.
Nice. And do you have a favorite quote?
I found one. Does that count? Okay. Is that cheating? Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, we didn't prepare for this. Don't worry.
Vincent van Gogh said, "I would rather die of passion than of boredom."
Very, very nice.
And Vincent van Gogh was a very depressive person, so you can take that with a grain of salt.
Okay. Maria, do you play an instrument?
Oh, I'm a good Asian, and I play both the violin and the piano.
Oh,
but neither one that well. I don't have like the focus and dedication to sit down and actually practice.
So you're not concert level yet?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, and tell us, did you learn something new over these past few months while sheltering at home?
Oh my gosh, I learned origami, but it's all in the other room. I totally forgot. I learned origami. I've been making origami dinosaurs, velociraptors, and a triceratops.
Oh my God. Okay, you have to promise that you're going to post a
I
picture.
know. If we
Okay.
weren't live, I would like yell at my husband to go get it, but I feel like that's too awkward.
He'd be like, which one?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I got them for you.
Amazing. Maria, this has been such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for your time and really sharing your insight on Asia and your story as well. It's truly fascinating, and I hope we get to do this again
In
sometime in the
person at
future.
some time. Yeah, exactly.
In person, and I'm waiting. We're waiting to meet at one of your conferences.
Yeah, you'll be first
I
on the
believe
invite list.
I believe we're in for the first. Well, what is it? Jakarta in September. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes, looking like a hybrid one at this point, but we'll do something
Hybrid.
for sure.
All right, amazing. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and have a great day. Have a great evening. Have a great whatever. Bye.
Bye.